I welcome those that are online, as well as our councillors, Councillor Duncan, Councillor Dalgetty, Councillor Raukawa and Councillor Ash. We will endeavour to keep an eye on the screen, so raise your hand high so that we can see it. Thank you, and welcome to today's meeting.
Make sure the videos are on. The videos are on. We need to have the videos on to know they're there.
Yes, could we just have videos on, please, team, so that we can catch your hands and other such things? Thank you. Could we please be upstanding for the council prayer read by Councillor Lambert? Thank you.
Almighty God, as members of the Rangitikei District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all the communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions, and to help us work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Apologies, I have received an apology from His Worship the Mayor, Andy Watson. He is away on council business. I have no other apologies. Could I have somebody move that the apology from His Worship be accepted? Move, Councillor Gordon, seconded from Councillor Carter. Thank you.
We still don't have Councillor Ash online, so we might have to note her as not being present.
Councillor Ash, are you online with us there?
Yes, I most certainly am. I was just texting Carol to say, hey, can you see me? Because I pushed my camera thing, but I can't see me. But I am here. I most definitely am here, trying to figure out how to make my camera work.
We'll proceed with that, and hopefully we'll be able to get you online with your camera throughout today's meeting.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, I have no other apologies. Apologies have been moved and accepted there for His Worship the Mayor from Councillor Gordon and Councillor Carter. Thank you. We have no public forum at today's meeting, not that I've been made aware of, and we don't have anything listed on today's agenda. Conflict of interests. We are all aware of conflicts of interest. Has anybody got any matters of conflicts of interest they wish to raise at this point in time throughout today's agenda? I'm not seeing anything. And if a matter should arise throughout today's proceedings, could you please just raise it with the chair for discussion and a decision on whether or not the conflict exists or not. Confirmation of the order of business is as scheduled in today's agenda. I have no notification that there's a change in the order of today's business. And if we could just move on to the confirmation of the minutes from the previous meeting. Do I have those here? Sorry, I'll just grab a paper copy. Thank you. So we'll go through in the usual fashion. We will be starting on page 8 of the minutes. Page 8, page 9.
I'll watch that for you.
Yeah, page 10.
We have a Councillor Dalgetty.
Councillor Dalgetty. On page 10?
Yes, under the utilities budget,
Yes.
I'm just...
So we can't hear you. You've gone on to mute, Councillor Dalgetty.
Sorry. I'm just concerned about the last two sentences. I was concerned that they were not clear as to who the funding was from under the utilities budgets.
Just take a moment to have a look at that.
Thank you.
It does say on the last line it will be funded by council. Councillor Dalgetty, the question here is that a true and correct record of the minutes that were held? I believe that's what we're looking at.
Well, I just was concerned in the second to last sentence it says mostly funded by the Department of Internal Affairs.
Yep, so I'm not quite sure what your concern is we're just confirming the minutes as being true and correct?
So I'm not sure. I feel that's contradicting each other, those two sentences.
What she's saying is the pump station. So the pump station says it's in the rising main by the internal fees, and then this one says the pump station will be funded by council. So what's the, which one is it? Okay. Thank you. Just looking at that now. So does that need to be amended at all, or some clarification that we can seek on the wording of that? Has that wording been misinterpreted in these minutes?
The construction of the rising main is mostly, in fact, it's fully funded by the Department of Internal Affairs through the Three Waters stimulus funding.
What we could do is have a look at the syntax of the sentence to let it make more sense. I think that's really what it is. It's just the way it's constructed. All
right. Thank you, Councillor Dalgety. We'll do a little bit of work on that one to get that clarified for you.
Thank you.
So that was page 10. We're moving on now to page 11. And page 12. Being no...
I'm happy to move that there are true and accurate record as amended when the sentence construction.
Thank you. Moved Councillor Belsham, seconded from Councillor Carter. Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Right, moving on to the follow-up actions items from previous meetings. They are in your order paper and quite detailed. We'll start with item number 1. Noted that that is still in progress. Is there any questions regarding that item?
It's 17th, isn't it?
Item 2 on the follow-ups agenda. Listed as now being closed. Thank you. Item 3, also a matter still in progress and some work's being done there. No further comment on that. Thank you. Item 4.
I see there's some information in the report, so...
Has that been included in the report?
There's some basic information in the report, which, if there's any discussion, it can come up there.
Happy for that to come up later in the agenda, that item?
Mr. Chair, can I just...
Yes.
I have received a reply from MDC, from John on that. Oops. As part of this year's work programs, there are 2 pieces of work on Santoff Road. Both of them will start in April and be completed by June to address this problem.
Thank you. Yeah,
completely in hand.
And I saw it was recorded in the roading report about that 2 sections of Santoff Road. So yeah, thank you.
And that item will move to closed, then would it? Thank you. Item number 5. Not yet commenced. Open. Questions there?
If I just may make a comment on that one too, tradeways is an interesting one for us as a district. Okay. Tradeways is an interesting one for us as a district. So we do not have specific tradeways agreements with any of these industries. We only have a handful of them. As we move forward and we have more sophisticated wastewater solutions, we will also have tradeways, bylaws, and procedures that will go with it. In the meantime, we'll keep an eye on this one discharge and just be sure that there's nothing in there that's going to harm the plant. So but we don't have a specific tradeways agreement with them.
Okay. Okay. So that will remain sort of in progress. That question, do you feel?
Mr. Chairman, I think we need to think about that, because if it's going to be in progress, it might be in progress for the next 3 years. Okay. We have a district-wide new tradeways bylaw. I don't know if we want to leave that on there for that long.
Okay.
I would suggest that I could put more words in there for the next meeting that describe what I just said in a bit more detail.
Okay, and that may result in that action being closed at that stage. Councillor Gordon, you have a question?
Yeah, along the same lines, I guess given that this particular wastewater treatment plant is in its reconsenting phase, what impact do you think this has on that process?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think the impact's is extremely small. It's a dilution factor always. If we look at the load and flow from this industry compared to the rest of town, it's absolutely minimal. We are really fortunate in all our towns. The contribution of industrial effluent into the mix of things on those flows very small.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, we'll move that through with that explanation. To perhaps the next assets and inflows meeting, and we can then finalise that item. Item number 6, work is underway with regards to that. His worship, the Mayor is not here. It's a question that was raised by him. Is there any comment from you, Jess, on that one, or is the status comments appropriate? Thank you. Item number 7. Any work on that? Any work is underway? Nothing required on that one?
If I may make a comment to
Yes.
it. Yes, we have commissioned 2 pieces of work. One is for a consultant to draft a waste minimisation roadmap for the district, and part of that will include diversion. So we are looking into that. The other one is the commissioning of a Section 17A on our waste, which won't specifically cover diversion, but will cover all aspects of the effectiveness of our solid waste management.
Okay.
And I imagine coming out of that will be discussions about diversion with Smart Environmental. So it is underway. It's likely, realistically, to be in progress for the next 4 months.
Yep. Thank you.
Do you want to explain what Section 17A is?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Apologies. Section 17A is a review of the cost effectiveness of council services or contracts. So we do them on larger contracts like swimming pool operations, solid waste management, can be on 3 waters management.
Yeah, that piece of work may actually pick up a number of questions that have been raised at previous council meetings with regards to waste. I suspect that may pick up and encompass a number of questions that were bounced around. So it'll be interesting to see what that produces over the next few months. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, it's listed as now closed. We're happy that matter's been addressed. Item number 9. In progress, Mr. Bernardi, any comments on that?
No, as it states there, it'll be midsummer, so we're continuing that work, and as soon as we have some feedback, we'll bring that back.
Thank you. Item number 10. Councillor Belsham, matters raised there by yourself and Councillor Ash. It's saying it's in progress. Is there any further update apart from the comments that have been listed in the paper?
There is. What I'm after now from the roading team is due dates. So we're aware that there's a problem. Everybody agrees that there is a problem and that it will be rectified. What I want now is dates. When will this be done so I can report it back to the committee?
I'm sure Councillor Belsham and Councillor Ash would like some dates too, that they could report back to the people that the concerns have been raised by them. So.
Sorry, we just need to check if Councillor Rokar has actually left the meeting because it needs to go into the minutes.
Yeah. Councillor Rokar, are you still with us online? Yes, if you could just keep your video playing for us, as we do need to list if anybody's not online so that it can be recorded in the minutes that they've left the meeting room. It is quite important, and it's part of our ongoing procedures with regards to our meeting format. So if we can do that. I'm noting that we've got a thumbs up from Councillor Ash, but we still appear to have a problem with her camera not working, but I've had a note passed to me that she's definitely online. So it's Councillor Belsham and Ash. Councillor, you were happy with that item at number 10?
Yeah,
being addressed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Item number 11. Councillor Carter, is that a similar situation that we're in with that one to the previous response, Mr. Bernardi? Yep.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Cool. Councillor Carter, happy with that status of that and the response?
With the response, it's just a review, is it, or of the contract or of the work?
In this instance, we have reviewed the work and it is not to standard. So what happens under the contract, that needs to be repaired under the contractor's cost. What I would want to know now from the contractor is when will that be done? So we can go and inspect it again, and if it's then to standard, it will then enter the defects liability period.
So as regards the resealing, is it also regarding the curbing?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so both of those items are a similar response from our Mr. Bernardi there, and they will stay as in progress until we can get some timeframes and dates tied into those that we can then monitor. Thank you. That's item number 11 on the actions and follow-up list. Item number 12. This will be done. In progress, any further?
There's an interesting one. I think actually we do have some pictures on the website of the construction of the bridge. I think that's been completed.
And some time-lapse photography, I believe. Is that the same item? Yep.
Yeah.
So is that matter now a closed matter? I believe it probably is. Yep. We're happy to have that listed as closed, team.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you. And I think item 13 is tied up in Jess's earlier response to some work that's going to be done on our waste management. Councillor.
That would have been my question. Yeah. Does that review encompass any concerns in this area that this raised?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it does. So there's two pieces of work. The first piece has been completed, and we're just reviewing the draft report. That really is, we've asked a consulting engineering company that specialises in solid waste to give us a view and a roadmap of solid waste management in the district. And that kind of the idea that we have, that will form the backbone of how we will structure the contract that will go out before June. And then the section 17A sits at the back of that to compare different delivery models to find which is the best one. So really what we have in mind is, let's have a look at how we manage solid waste in our district. What do we want to achieve with it, and how do we want to go forwards? And then we will structure the contract to suit that. And that's kind of where we are in that process. So the first bit's done, and the second bit's about to start.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's any information that you require from probably Councillor Wilson and myself, which I think has been provided, if there's any further information, I'm happy to have that discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, that item, thank you, Councillor Wilson. That item 13 there was a very specific question was being asked within that. So I'd want to see that actual question is still going to be captured within that work that's going to be done in that solid waste management, as to just to understand that.
Yeah, it is specifically about potential waste coming from outside of our district and being put through our transfer station. Yeah. And that has an impact on our overall tonnage going out to the landfill. So, yeah,
it would also
understanding that.
It may also have an impact on our diversion rates and other such things as well. Mm-hmm. So that's why we do need to get an understanding of where this waste is actually coming from. Is it all being generated locally, or potentially not? So we'll leave that as an item in progress. Councillor Belsham, you're happy with that? Thank you. And item number 14, which is the last item. Is there any comment with regards to that? Questions from anybody in the room or online? Or we're happy that this is in progress?
That's been completed too. Mm. We have written to them.
Yep. Did it go to, do you remember this? Sorry. Has this been closed as far as you're concerned?
If it's been included into the Bulls Community Committee, we're talking about the deferral of the Bulls.
Yes.
Yeah. So the communications, as long as the communications has gone out through that channel, that's fine. That's, to me, that's...
So we'll list that as an item as closed. Is the committee happy that's now a closed item, specifically relating to that? Thank you. Okay. So...
question from Councillor Duncan.
Councillor Duncan, where are you? Yeah, question, and what item in particular, Councillor Duncan?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's more of a comment. When you were going through the items just then, Chair, it was very helpful that you numbered them, but the numbers are not actually on the order paper online. So that actually would be really helpful if that could be included for the future referral, if you see what I mean.
Yes, thank you for that. I would agree. I've just scribbled them down on a piece of paper beside me. But yeah, that would make life easier for everyone to keep a track of. So I'm sure that's something that can be easily added to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that being done, Councillor Carter, did you have a question?
The same thing.
Okay, thank you. With that being done, could someone move that the follow-up actions list be received? Moved by Councillor Belson, seconded Councillor Lambert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, moving on to my chair's report. Apologies once again. I did email it to you all. It was unable to meet the order paper, but that is purely my fault and not of any staff. Poor performance on my behalf, so I will take that one on the nose, as was pointed out to me by Councillor Gordon in a follow-up email back to me about my poor performance. So it has been circulated to you all. There's a couple of matters in there which I think will come up throughout today's meeting for some further discussion. Is there anything specifically within the report that anybody wishes me to address, or should we just take it as being read and address particularly the matter of unsealed roads later in the agenda on our follow-ups of that? Being no questions, I'll just take that as read and as circulated. I'll move my report be tabled, seconded from Councillor Gordon. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item 9, reports for information, assets and infrastructure report, January 22. You all have that in front of you, and I think if we can, between Jess and Anna, you'll tag team this one and take us through. We'll start and hand over to you and start with item number 1.
Great. Happy to take any questions or comments. With all sections of roading, as usual, the work starts around January and goes right through to about May. So you can expect at the next Assets and Infrastructure Committee to see quite an uplift in our spend.
One quick question for me. The damage caused by the recent weather event, is that, obviously that's funded by Wakakotahi, is that at our standard FAR rate that is funded by?
It is.
There's not an emergency event, there's no additional funding, it is just at the standard FAR rate.
That's correct. That's correct. So we had Wakakotahi out there early January to have a look at it, and then we will get confirmation from them.
Okay.
It would be at the normal FAR.
So that number that there is inclusive of the subsidy or exclusive of the subsidy?
I think that is the total number.
That's the total number of which we would receive a subsidy back off that. Okay, thank you. Councillor Beltram.
Yeah, just a question around on page 24 of the order paper, the Mount Curl Road seal extension, and it says sealing the route in 2 parts, starting March and finishing May. Just relating back to the recent weather event, and I see there has been damage or slip on Mount Curl Road, will that alter timeframes for delivering the resealing section of that road? Is that part of that same area? Just a question around that.
I do not know the detail about that, and I'm happy to follow up, and I'll send you an email if that, because I would imagine the answer is quite urgent. You wouldn't want to wait 2 months before you get the answer. Yeah. My personal opinion is it shouldn't. There should be enough time to clear the slip and get the road back to working condition, and then for the sealing to happen in March. I think it's far enough apart. But let me just confirm that, and I'll.
Thank you.
And that email, does the whole committee would like to see the email? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate, as it's a question that's been asked here at this meeting. Mr. Biggs?
If we could take it as an undertaking,
Yep.
note it in the minutes, and then just you can close it off till the next meeting if that makes sense. You've done by email.
Ash, have you got that noted? Thank you. Just before I go to you, Councillor Carter, we've got a couple of questions online. Councillor Ash, you have a question?
Yeah, it's just to try and refresh my memory and to see if anything was done with it. I recall the weather event we had in 2015, I think it was, and there was significant damage. Councillor Gordon at the time suggested a lot of the damage to the roads was actually through various farming practices that they were undertaking in those particular areas. And there was conversation about whether or not to have communications with the farmers and work something out so that I don't know, I mean, I guess we don't expect to have such heavy rains in December, but to have a conversation with landowners to ensure that infrastructure isn't being damaged if there is a rain event, or how it can be mitigated so it's not so extensive. Was that conversation ever had with landowners, and if so, what came from that?
I'm unaware of that. My understanding is that the works that were done in that event have been now fully completed for repairs through that event. The only thing I could do is perhaps just ask Councillor Gordon if he recalls the conversation and perhaps enlighten us a little further.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question to council and staff was, what conversations are we having? And really the conversation that needs to be had is between ourselves and Horizons Regional Council, because what I was referring to was accelerated erosion in hill country that's exacerbated by some on-farm practices. So all that lives within the Horizon space, and yet and because so much of our network is in steep, unstable hill country, we are quite critically exposed. I mean, at the moment, it doesn't impact on us financially because most of the repair bill is covered by a storm, by the storm assistance out of Wakakatahi. But if ever they change that funding formula, we would be very exposed. I mean, currently they fund 80 to 90% or more. And so if I mess up on my farm and my farm ends up on the road, it doesn't cost me and it doesn't cost the council, Wakakatahi shells out. But if they say, you know what, to hell with that, we're not going to fund it anymore, then there's going to be some quite brutal questions asked and some quite big invoices go out. And I guess the issue is that on farm, the mechanisms that are generally used to stabilise hill country is tree planting programs, but they take effectively 10 years from the day you plant the pine tree or the poplar pole or whatever to be effective. And so there's a huge lag. It's not like just digging up a drain in the street and fixing it. There's when you use green engineering, there's a big time lag and it's also quite expensive. So it's a really long-term think. And so, whether or not we engage with Horizons about the stability of our roading network, I know it happened in Whanganui District Council. They actually worked quite closely with Horizons Regional Council probably 20 odd years ago. But, to secure particular parts of the network that were really at risk and always creating issues.
Yeah, well, that would be a question I don't think we're going to be able to answer here today, or a specific question to be put, because that would be dealt with by our roading team in conjunction with Horizons with regards to the water table management and all those sorts of things, which are outside the scope of this committee at this point in time.
If I may, Mr. Chair, it's probably a very high-level discussion that has to be had by the Mayor and the Chief Exec with the Chair and the Chief Exec over there as to a joint approach. As you're right, we can't solve it in this room now.
No, and I don't know that there's a specific action coming out of that specifically that we could direct to have that conversation. Has anybody got any thoughts on that as to whether or not that's, or do those discussions happen with regards to asset management planning with regards to Horizons as well? Is that?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, actually, when you mentioned that, something popped up in my mind. I think, and I don't want to commit the team because they have a lot on, and I might bring something back at the next meeting, but I think a good start would be to have a look on our RAM database, which is our asset management tool for roading. Do we have a heat map of the network in the district as far as damage is concerned? Are there certain areas that keep coming up? Because in my mind, that's a start for a discussion with Horizons and maybe a handful of farmers, rather than looking at the network in general, and that's a very big question with an almost unattainable answer. But if that exists, maybe that's more focused and we can maybe start somewhere. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the writing team and ask them if that exists. If there is something, I'll bring it back to the next meeting. If it doesn't exist, I'll ask them if we can start.
Okay, if that's an easy enough action for you to take, that may give some answers to these questions. If you're happy enough to take that as an action, if we could note that, and we'll come back with an answer on that one. We also had Councillor Duncan, you were online with a hand up.
Thank you. I was a bit confused around what the average fire rate is, because it went down and then it went back up again, and I just wondered if we had that actual number.
It's at 64% for roading, but under emergency works, I think it's a little more, is it not?
Yeah, you're correct, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so it's I think our normal fire rate remains 64%, but it is going down over the next 3 years. It's 63, 62. And that's what the rest of the country is at. And then for damage, they've got certain caps, capital expenditure caps. So if it's $1 million or under, it's a certain. If it's $1 million or more, it goes up and up. And there are points where they would fund all of it in big events like 2015 and 2004. So it just depends on the quantum of the damage.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Duncan?
Thank you.
And Councillor Carter, you had a question there as well, did you?
Around my road bulls, it would have been on the previous costing for the roading. The first right-hand bend after the golf course, a sharp right, has been realigned and widened. It's still got no camber on it. Is there any intention to put speed restriction or a speed indicator or some indicator that the bend is there? Because we've had many vehicles go over the edge of that corner, and of late a truck with fatality. If an indicator of that corner being some signage would be of a great help. Is that been intended to happen or not?
I'll follow up on that. I wouldn't know the detail of if that's intended to happen, but I'll follow up and we'll bring it back.
There are other corners on the road that do have an arrow or a speed indicator. That's a big corner with no indication at all.
Yeah, that would need to go through to our roading team for a request through to Waka Kotahi, which would also need to be gazetted, and there's a bit of a process to follow through for that, correct? In saying that? I'll go back to the team and ask them after the realignment what are the plans with signage and the rest.
The question started, isn't it? So.
Yeah, sure. So that's again another action that can be listed. It's around my road. Ash, are you aware of that area or anything? You can, Councillor Carter may be able to enlighten you if you're not aware of that area.
Take it in at 50 k's and see how like the corner.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Jess, we've diversed a little bit from where you started on there. We got straight into roading with lots of questions being asked.
No problem. The report starts with roading.
Yep.
Are there any other questions
Councillor,
on roading?
Yeah, Councillor Gordon, as indicated in my report, had a question with regard to roading on some unsealed roads, and I know that view is also shared by Councillor Lambert. So perhaps I could ask them to enlighten us where the concern lies.
So my question is around the expected maintenance levels and rehab or improvements on our unsealed network. On our sealed network, I think we have fairly stringent program maintenance schedules. But on our unsealed network, it seems that we either don't have similar schedules or we don't apply them. And the reason why I raise this is a lot of our unsealed network has really changed little in the 100 years since it was formed. And there was, for the time, there was quite a high level of construction put in, but we've really sweated the asset in a lot of places to beyond its life. And so on some critical areas, especially curves that have got steep gradients, we've actually cut down through the original base course. So, and the original base course was actually made, and I'm talking traditionally in the western half of the district, like west of State Highway 1, was made by chiselling out the mudstone rock, putting it in what was called a papa kiln and cooking it to make bricks. And it was just done locally because there was lots of wood locally and there was lots of mudstone. And so that became the base course, because carting gravel a long distance with a horse and cart was just uneconomic and didn't happen. So if you go up a lot of our gravel roads, you can actually see in where the roads have cut down, you can see the layer of the original burnt papa. That's how they were made. So we've effectively cut down through our base course, and every time it rains, the clay washes away, the little bit of gravel there sinks down, and so now our roading network in many places is cutting down through the surrounding landscape, and in many cases it's actually below the level of the water tables. We don't seem to be picking this up in maintenance. Many of the farmers who live on those roads take the law into their own hands, and when they drive their bulldozer, digger or whatever up the road, they actually do the job themselves. They clean out the water tables and stuff. It's not being picked up by our, it would seem that it's not being picked up by our maintenance contracts, or if it is, we're not funding it. And so my real question is, what are we going to do in the future? Because if you look at the landscapes that these roads are in, they're probably our most erosion-prone landscapes. They're the most difficult roads to maintain, but we seem to be putting the least amount of money in, and yet they service a vast area of our district. Close to 50% of our district is still on these unsealed roads. So it's really a question for the future. You know, what are we going to do there? Because we've almost got this maintenance or rehabilitation wave coming at us, and we seem to be blind to it. So I'll throw it to the staff.
Yeah, if I may reply to that, Mr. Chairman, if that's all right. If you can cast your mind back to about September, before the long-term plan, we had a workshop with the roading team to explain how the whole roading program is put together. I don't know if you can remember that. And what really steers that is Waka Kotahi and government, and the direction that government and Waka Kotahi wants the whole country to move down with regards to roading. So that kind of steers what we will pay attention to and what we need to have a look at. Out of that, that then comes a program of data collection all over the network to determine what parts are worse than other parts. And ultimately then they put a program together that is then approved by Waka Kotahi to achieve those original goals that central government and Waka Kotahi wants us to pursue. So in a mix of all of those things, we have to remember what's driving this program always is central government direction and what is important to them at the time. So what then happens is the program that's put forward gets approved by Waka Kotahi, and then we bring that to council because we need to afford that program. So with things like this, that's kind of on the fringes of that major direction, it's easy enough to add things to the program. It does not have a high priority because of the direction, and it will cost a lot of money extra. So we need to figure out from a district-wide network view, what is more important than other bits? So although I take on board these service a very, very large area in the district, what is the economic contribution of these roads to the district? It's a good question. Or how many vehicles do they carry in a day? So all of those other questions come into the equation. So finally, when we look at how much money do we have to spend, we have to determine where we're going to spend that money to have the biggest impact. And that really is the bottom line.
So is there a schedule of maintenance for unsealed roads?
There is, and we've just submitted it as part of the new asset management plan to Waka Kotahi, based on all of those factors with business cases, everything put together to say this is what we're going to do. And that's the tricky thing for us. With a district like ours that is based on agriculture, that is vast, has lots of unsealed roads, that is the challenge for us, is how do we make sure that those roads are at a high enough standard to provide that service.
Yeah, yes, Councillor.
How do we, okay, so then how do we identify these key areas that are repeat offenders? because I continually get a number of Northern ratepayers on the phone to me saying, Angus, this bit of road is not good enough. And I said, have you put in the RFS, etc. And quite often I go out and have a look and put it in myself. But are we relying on the RFS system to actually identify a hotspot, or do we have another mechanism? Because it seems to not be working in some of these hotspots.
Yeah, my thinking of this is probably what we really need to identify, as you said, is the hotspots, and I think we need to identify where the issue is, or where they are. Are they on a whole part of a road, or are they just on a specific section of the road? So I think we really need to identify where that is. And the greater question comes from what, and I agree with what you're saying, as I raised it in my chair's report, what is the mechanism of identifying these things? Because we know that we've got a roading schedule, and we know that that falls out of the one network roading plan. And yes, we had that workshop from it. But it's within that plan, it's very, very easy, I still think, to just miss some of these crucial points. And whilst we have budgets for it, it may well be that we have budgets to do X amount of road sealing, and we look at this road and go, well, that hasn't been sealed for 5 years, so it's scheduled for resealing, but that particular road has 3 cars and 1 bus a day going up and down it. Whereas the hotspot road is the issue that's been caused. So what do we have to look and make our maintenance hopefully within our budgets a little bit more targeted to some of the areas that may be going to break down a little bit, particularly from the logging, which I know is a concern that Councillor Lambert has. And we identified that, you know, logging and increases in logging during our peak logging period would cause some debilitation of our roadings. But by identifying that, did we stop and think about, you know, what are the mechanisms that we've got to maybe put some mitigation steps in place in these potential hotspots? But I agree with what Mr. Bernardi is saying. We probably need to identify these areas first before we can come up with a potential plan. But the bigger question is, I think, is how do we actually go about doing that? And is there a formula within our roading work schedule that gives us the flexibility to identify a couple of problems that are starting to become now, possibly because of the increased use of these roads for some economic output. So I guess that's the question I'm raising.
I wonder, you know, we can't solve it here and now. So I wonder, at some stage in the future, could we have perhaps a short workshop showing how we go from the problem corner in the middle of nowhere to the actual maintenance plan, and identify if there's some gap somewhere. That would at least clarify in my mind.
We'd need to have a greater understanding of what the issue is, so we don't just scattergun approach, but finding a way to identify that. I'll just go to Councillor Dalgety, who's got a hand up, because it may be a question also for you to answer. Councillor Dalgety.
Oh, look, it's just a comment, really. I think it's worth doing the heat map and understanding our areas that need our main attention. But I just wanted to say that there's some areas of our district that people are really wrapped with the service on those unsealed roads. And thank you very much to staff for that.
Thank you. Councillor Lambert.
You know, Councillor Gordon pretty much covered what I was going to say as well. But yeah, it's important to remember the forestry thing is not going to go away. Like it's here, like it's been warned and it's here now. Like it's going to, as Councillor Gordon pointed out, for 100 years, nothing's really changed. But, you know, some roads are about to get a real hiding, and it's not like going to be a dose of the flu or a few days in bed are going to fix it. Like it's, you know, it's going to be an onward going problem. So it's something we can't sort of, you know, like the workshop on ideas, I think so. Brilliant.
We have a Councillor Ash online with a question as well, and then perhaps I can go to Mr. Bernardi with a potential action that we might be able to wrap all this up in one. Councillor Ash?
It's all right. My question was answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with regards to all those questions and queries that have been raised, Mr. Bernardi, is there some way that we can capture the concerns that are raised from the committee?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the other part of this whole equation that we have to acknowledge as well is we need to determine, is there a problem? So people use these roads every day and they know them like the back of their hands and they can see when there's a problem. But what I would like to see is an engineering assessment of the problem. How serious is it for that piece of road on that bend compared to all the other problems in the district? So we must never be blinded, and we really always need to weigh up where all of these things sit in the funds that we have available. So in my mind, that'll be number one. Number two, we should be sure that people use the RFS system as much as they can. That's the easiest way for us to flag a hotspot, because we can map things if we have addresses and repeat offenders, if people are using the RFS system. And I think the third thing we have to pay attention to, and this is part of the roading asset management plan, is that we will fix roads after logging has been completed. We'll fix the damage. I think we could ask the roading team to give us a bit of a proactive program of how they would monitor that, how they would monitor those routes that we would be aware of, to be sure that we're on top of what's happening there. And then maybe communicate that to the people using that road, so at least they know that we are looking at it and we will keep an eye on it. I like the idea of a workshop. I think we can bring those three things back to the workshop and have a bit of a discussion about how we can achieve those. And then we go from there.
Yeah, and there may be, and I fully agree with everything that you say, we've got to take quite a holistic approach at it rather than a scattergun approach, but there just may be, there may be something within Council's ability through the roading team to put in some mitigation while we're going through this process before we have to do some significant rehabilitation of these roads after these logs have been removed from the area. So that's something that we can do. So do we have that wrapped up in something, Carol, to go forward with that?
I've noted the action about a workshop. So we've got workshops scheduled throughout this year. So I'll just work with Anna when the appropriate time for this one is, as well as the other.
Okay, so is the committee happy that that's a way we can take this item further forward? And also noting, and correctly so from Mr. Bernardi, the RFS system. You know, if we just need to keep always encouraging people to bring that through, because it is a mapping process, and it will deliver to the council an overview through that RFS system. So we can always continue to encourage our people to go there first up. Mr. Toombs.
I'll just make a comment that's relevant, I think, to this. Talking about damage caused by forest trucks, we are looking at putting in a forestry differential from next financial year. So then discussions will be happening in the next couple of weeks.
Yep. Okay. Councillor Belsham.
Part of that discussion, and it happened some time ago, was a round table with the forestry operators, and the transport companies were willing to work with council staff and engineers to point out and identify areas that they could see could potentially be an issue, so that you could actually put some efforts into those areas prior to the roads being impassable, through damage by those trucks. So I'm not sure whether that's been taken up by any of the roading engineers, but that certainly it was pointed out by the forestry operators at the time that they were willing to work with council engineers to identify any hotspots, and that's possibly a day spent jumping in a truck and going out with the operator and pointing out, look, we think this is going to be a potential hotspot in this operation, so, yeah, and whether that opportunity's been taken up by staff, I'm not sure, but that would certainly be something that I would highlight, that those operators want to work with council to ensure that the roads are kept.
Yes, you're quite correct, Councillor Belsham. That conversation was had, and I agree with everything you've just said there. Okay, so does that wrap it, Councillor Dalgety?
Just the other thing that we have discussed before is mitigating dust related to these forestry trucks on some of the unsealed roads adjacent to some of the houses. Is the other issue that I think would be good to address.
We'll take that up as part of the earlier conversation as well. Okay, does that wrap that item up? Is everyone sort of happy with where we can take this forward to get some further discussion around it? Staff and you all happy with that?
Yep.
Right, we're now back to you, Jess. I've got no idea where we've got to, but I think I'm pretty sure we're back to you now.
We're just on item 1, actually.
Yes,
We are in the roading section.
Yep.
Are there any further questions or comments on any of the other sections within roading?
So, Councillor Okawa.
Myself. I'm looking at the Mangaweka project. Are we 1.6?
Yes.
Yeah. So well, I've got a first of all, through you, Mr. Chair, Kia councillors. I'm aware of not getting into any operational matters. That's not what I sit here for. But I'd like to apologise for my poor performance. Must be a day for it as the Ahika rep. In regards to the relationship between Mana Whenua and the Mangaweka Bridge opening. Hopefully this will be remedied soon, but I would like to ask this committee, how can I as an extension of track and the Roku, along with the relationship with the iwi liaison, help assets effectively maintain its mana and the mana of the many collaborations that we have with various hapu and iwi in our district. Because I know as an assets committee, we make a lot of decisions that affect many people. So, you know, this is just about the Mangaweka Bridge opening. Sorry that we had to close it, but how can we sort of get on from here? How can we go on from here? How can Ahika help from here? Kia ora.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of what this concern is about, so I couldn't comment on whether or not this is the forum to have it, but I'm not aware of the issue, so I cannot make comment. Or the concern that's been raised by Councillor Okawa.
If it pleases you, Mr. Chairman, I can just give a bit of background to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
We had an official opening date for the Mangaweka Bridge later in February. It was a big day planned. The contractor diverted traffic over the new bridge to allow them to do some roading work on the approach to the bridge. That was unfortunate, and if we could do it over, we would have looked at alternative solutions for that problem. We are in negotiation at the moment with iwi to see how we can rectify the situation. We've closed the bridge again. The contractor has made alternative arrangements to try and complete the approaches. And hopefully soon we would get to a position where we can all understand what's the best way forward. But I think what the council is talking about is going forwards, how do we make sure that for other infrastructure projects and construction, that whatever is happening on the site is run by iwi and everybody else to be sure that we don't trip up on these little operational issues that could really cause a bit of damage down the line. What we have proposed so far is for Jess from the PMO perspective to have a weekly catch-up with Laquan. Internally to be sure that they can have a discussion about all the sites and where things are, and that Laquan could flag or make sure that we are aware of potential cultural impacts, and hopefully they can close the gap. And I agree we could potentially use Turipu Aika a little bit better as well in that process to be sure that we don't make the same mistakes going forwards.
Okay. So the issue has arisen due to the fact of the bridge not being officially opened in a formal capacity by both parties before being used. That has caused an issue, which it sounds to me as though you've put some steps in place to mitigate, and also sounds to me as though you've put some steps in place to perhaps get better communications going forward. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Gordon, you had a question?
So, well, my question was going to be, did you realise that vehicles were using the bridge? Because I drove across it myself last Friday.
Yep.
And due to the tight nature of that site, it looked as if it was almost unavoidable that when you form an approach that goes right through the approach of where the old bridge approach was, that you actually can't have your cake and eat it. You know, you either choose one or the other. But has there been a great deal of what's the right word? People's noses out of joint that cars and trucks have gone across that bridge prior to the opening, in a blunt sense? Or is this just an operational issue and people need to get over it?
If I may, no, this is greater than an operational issue to get over. This is a fundamental respect of our mana whenua, and if we are asking them as council, under my leadership, to be involved on things, on projects that impact their rights that we subscribe to, then we would have worked with them in an improved scenario on this issue. We would have worked them to ensure that any blessing took place prior to any vehicles crossing the bridge. So I have apologised on behalf of council to the chair of Ngāti Hawati and Lequan and Manawatu District Council and the CEO of Manawatu District Council, and I have discussed everything that Arno just outlined. So forgive my direct approach, but it's certainly not a getting over. It's an improvement opportunity for us, and we acknowledge that.
Okay, so there's been obviously there's been some misunderstanding and communication opportunities have been missed throughout the project. More importantly, is do we feel as though we've got the proper steps in place now, which are locked in, to make sure that this does not happen again in the future? Have we got the processes going forward now within your and the project management team to ensure that the checklist gets checked off accordingly, and that this particular matter is checked off? And
yeah, I'm confident that what Arno outlined, which is a once a week between the head of our PMO and Jess and our head of our strategic advisor for mana whenua, that meeting taking place once a week will ensure Excellent. This doesn't drop through. Right. And as I said, we've got an action plan to address the issue at Mangaweka Bridge. Yeah. Thank you, and pleased that you've taken the immediate actions to voice the council's apologies on our behalf. Thank you for that. Councillor Ash.
Yeah, thanks. Just a couple of questions in regards to that. So, do vehicles have an access across the river at the moment? And the other one is, has this incurred any further unbudgeted costs for this project, having to create an access and then recreate a new access? Thank you.
Yes.
For you. So there is access across the river on the historic bridge, the old bridge, at the moment. So there is no interruption to people's ability to traverse the river there. And no, there is no additional cost to the project. At the moment, it doesn't cost either the contractor or us any more money to be using the historic bridge until after we've had a formal opening ceremony.
Thank you. Next question, Councillor Dalgety. You had a question?
I'm just wondering, this report goes to the end of January. Do we have a updated date for the opening? And I just would like to clarify that there is a significant cost to surrounding farmers not being able to use their trucks across the old bridge. So they're having to take an extra hour to go the other way. So there is a cost of the old bridge. In the same breath, they are very excited that the new bridge has been completed in such good time.
4 months ahead of schedule. So
yes.
In terms of managing expectations, I think we've done pretty well to be 4 months ahead of schedule, and we'll certainly be beating what we promised to those farmers.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that it's a significant program and project that we should all share and celebrate at the appropriate time.
No date for an
So do we have an opening?
No date set at this stage, Councillor Dalgety.
Oh, thank you.
Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, look, I'd like to acknowledge the Chief Exec for mending fences out there with our iwi and hapu. My question is, are we the lead agency managing this project, or does that lead sit in shared services under the direction of Manawatu, or is it a joint lead?
We have responsibility to deal with our iwi.
Okay.
The project itself is reported to our PMO from MDC, just like other shared services projects are. But yeah, I have to acknowledge that we could have done better on this one with our communication. Which led to my apology.
Okay. I just didn't want to see it a bit like the Narororo Bridge, where someone else was actually creating an issue and we were busy apologising for the issue of someone else.
I just think we've probably washed this one up as an item on the agenda. Thank you to Councillor Okara for bringing it to this committee for that level of discussion. And I think we've all got a greater understanding of the matter now. So we were moving through the assets and infrastructure report. Was there anything else on there? And Jess, was there anything we'd sort of jump right to the Mangaweka Bridge?
We did, yes, absolutely. Still within the roading section. Happy to take any further questions on the roading section before we move to utilities.
I don't have any further questions on the roading section. Looking around, I don't believe there are any. Just that sorry, there is one from Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I'm not quite sure if this is the right time to bring it up, but I have real concerns about the state highway corridor through our district at the moment. It's pretty shocking. These areas of unmown rest areas and rubbish just overflowing all over the show. And obviously we've just had the school holidays and we've had long weekends and various things, but it really is worse than it often is. In fact, there are two main byways that you can stop, and we have those great big signs saying stop littering. There are bins in 1 kilometre just south of Taihape, which are, it's all very well, but the bins are absolutely overflowing and there are bags of rubbish at the bottom of them next to unmown areas and broken railings, etc. It's really quite shocking. The one at the top of the deviation.
One thing just to realise and understand, Councillor Duncan, that's not our scope. Yes. We don't yes. maintain the state highways, and it's my understanding that we have no feedback into the state highway operation at all. It's direct through Waka Kotahi, is my understanding.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very aware of that. Nonetheless, this is our district, and we've got destination plans and various things going on that are trying to promote this. And if we somehow do have feedback to Waka Kotahi, and I have told people on numerous occasions that they need to actually go straight to the website and put in our equivalent of an RFS. But it continues to go on, and I think that our council are the ones that are looking to have egg on their face. Because so most people...
The quick question there, Councillor, is that I would ask of the Chief Executive and perhaps Mr Venardi, is there any scope for us to provide feedback to Waka Kotahi on the state of our lay-bys and things within the district? Is there any scope for us to do that you're aware of?
We can email them and bring it to their attention. But that's about it.
But it's nothing more than that?
No, nothing more than that.
Okay. Councillor Belsham.
Yeah, I would expect that this would be an opportunity for the Mayor to take up directly through the RTA, Road Transport Forum, RTF, Road Transport Forum, and have a direct correspondence with the Waka Kotahi representative within that forum. So if you were to forward your comments and concerns, Councillor Duncan, to the Mayor and ask him to raise it through the appropriate channels through that forum, I think that would be the best opportunity to address if there are concerns.
Councillor Duncan, does that clarify the matter for you as an option to move forward?
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dalgety.
And just a point of clarification for myself. The rubbish collection along the state highway, is that our responsibility or is that a Waka Kotahi responsibility?
I don't believe it's our responsibility, Councillor Dalgety, and
thank you.
Everyone's agreeing with me here in the room too. That's not our responsibility. Thank you. Okay, so moving on from that, Councillor Carter.
One more for the roading. Concerns regarding the waste trucks destined for Bonnie Glen using the town roading rather than the alternate routes around the back road to Bonnie Glen. What can be done to assure that they don't keep using the town roading, as I believe they're not supposed to be?
Specifically, which road are we?
Pukipapa.
Yeah, Pukipapa is the heavy traffic bypass. So I think
supposed to be using that. They're supposed to be going around through the line.
This question's come up before, and as it's Pukipapa Road is the heavy traffic bypass, the build and rehabilitation and build quality of that road is built to take the heavy trucks, as opposed to going the other way around, where degradation of the road is likely to increase somewhat. So that is why that road and Wanganui Road is our heavy traffic routes for those vehicles. Specifically, this matter got raised, I believe, in the last triennium, and unless I'm mistaken, that was what the response to that question was. That those are the roads designed to take those heavy trucks. For that reason,
at the time was the fact of the rubbish trucks and the smells that they create going through town.
Yes, that was an issue that was raised at the time, but the flip side of that was sending them out alternative routes. Our roads would have cut up, and it could have been a significant expense to the council and part of our roading program to increase the rehabilitation of those roads and resetting of those roads. It's my understanding of where that question was raised and where the outcome of it was. Right, I think we're back to you again, Jess. I think we may have dealt with roading. I'm not sure.
Sure, thank you. So coming to utilities budgets, this is an update on the projects being covered under the shared services contract, plus other utilities projects not reported on elsewhere. Are there any questions on the projects contained in this section?
Yes, I had one on the sewerage new works. The figure that is there for Papakai Pump Station is a different figure than what was reported to us at the council meeting at the end of January, I think it was.
That is correct. We don't have the cost of that pump station yet. So we gave an early heads up at the last council meeting to say we expect the cost to be significantly higher than this budget, and that we will come back to council for formal approval or not of the costs once we've had it priced by the contractor.
Okay, so you're expecting to be significantly higher than the budget figure that's indicated in this paper, and expecting it to be closer to the budgetary figure that was indicated in the council paper?
Well, maybe, yeah. We'll know more once we get the pricing. We have a meeting tomorrow with the contractor and the designer in Taihape on site, and that will enable the contractor to begin pricing. So I think we will have more understanding by the middle of March of what the cost will be.
Can I just...
Yes, Mr. Biggs.
It's not the conversation was, dear members, you can get this one for that level and for this one for that level. So there's still a decision-making process as to what level of service you require. So all the paper did at the last meeting and the PMO report was to signal that should elected members wish for a high level of service, it will cost more.
Yep.
And we would anticipate it would cost up to 5 million. And there's been a lot of reaction to that. It's not an alert that the project has now gone from 1.2 million to 5 million. It is, there are options for your consideration in the future. It may still be 1.2, or indeed it might be 5, depending on your choice.
Yep, no, and agree with that comment being made at the council meeting. It's just that 1.2 was never a figure we saw 1.5. The paper was at the council said 1.5. This one says 1.2. There's a $300,000 difference there. I'm trying to figure which one we're actually speaking to.
Yeah.
So, but I agree 100% what you said. The level of service could be significantly different than that. But just the two different numbers was what I was questioning. Councillor Belsham.
Question, I know these are just dealing with budgets, but in regards with the pipeline, the centralisation, wastewater, Marton to Bulls project, that budget, does that just cover the installation of the pipeline, or does it deal with engineering that will go with it? And what's been raised with me is the pipeline sits a long way above where the current treatment plant is. So there's obviously has to be some pumping to get that waste out of there. Does that pumping, is that covered in this $1.2 million project, or is it literally just laying the pipeline and then we deal with the other engineering solutions after the fact?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that would be correct. So the money we're spending now is the pipe only. We have designed the pump station portion of it. We're looking at infrastructure that's existing at the Marton plant to see how we can use what we've got, but we will definitely need a pump station there to lift that water. It's actually not a big lift. It's also not far from the plant, and then from there, gravity down to Bulls.
I'm not an engineer, but it was raised to me that, you know, they thought it would be significant cost to pump it to that point and continue. Is that not the case?
No, like I say, through you, Mr. Chairman, the lift is actually not that much. So I can't remember in the exact meters, but it's not as if we have to lift the water 60 meters or something like that. It's actually quite limited. And then the moment it goes over that crest, our best friend gravity takes over and takes it all the way to Bulls. And there's quite a drop between Marton and Bulls, interestingly enough. So it's an unavoidable cost for us.
That's fine. Thank you. Okay. So that pipe would remain redundant until the pumping station solutions are put in place. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Are there any other? Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I've got a question. It's not project based, but it's to do with the stormwater network. I'll put in at least one RFS with respect to the ends of Wakakatahi road reconstruction through the Taihape CBD. And you'll remember that project started in November and it effectively got rained off pre-Christmas. And they did a cement stabilisation and then almost had it to the point of sealing and then had to back off for about 10 days. In that time, a significant amount of construction debris washed into our water tables in the main debris and in the approaches to and from Taihape. That debris is still sitting there. And I put an RFS the end of last week because we had a storm system coming. Now, luckily in Taihape, we only got 60 mils, so we dodged a bullet. But, you know, we've got the water table sitting right outside the front door of New World, pretty much completely blocked with all this debris, which is slowly working its way into our stormwater network. Most of it has. But if we had a big rain event, we'd have rain washing in the front door of New World, and we'd carry the can because it's our network, or our water table. It seems that the contractors have played a bit fast and loose with us, and they're not cleaning up after themselves. And unfortunately, we, the asset owner, are potentially going to carry the reputational, if not the financial damage. Would someone like to comment?
If I may.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things in the whole mix of the Taihape stormwater system. The first is, and this is the biggest problem for me, all we have at the moment is hearsay. People are saying that it's a big problem and it's stuff's blocked and all the rest of it. What we need to do is we need to put then cameras down to have a look. Is this actually the case or not? So that's a big problem because there's a huge amount of network and it's unrealistic to think we can get a camera down all of that to have a look. The second thing is if a storm event comes along and there's flooding and it's caused by an NZTA or Waka Kotahi contract, then I'll pass the cost on to Waka Kotahi. It will be, it's their cause, it's their liability, it's not ours. So I don't want to embark on a mountain of work for a maybe if something could possibly happen. I would rather see how the network performs. If we identify a problem on the performance, I'd go and have a look at that. And if the cost should be passed on to Waka Kotahi, I will definitely do that.
I'm just not quite sure that's what the issue that Councillor Gordon's raising.
All that's needed, look, Higgins were the main contractor. Higgins are the NZTA state highway contractor. They're also our contractor. They have a yard 100 metres from where the site is. The police were out cleaning out the southern approach within the 50k zone, which I don't know if that's us or NZTA, because the water was halfway across the road. So the local police were out doing it on Sunday, about Sunday lunchtime. I went down to the Papakai intersection. Our water table was blocked. The water was running across the road. In 2004, in the big flood, we lost Papakai Road because our stormwater network couldn't cope and the whole lot went over the edge and eroded it because it all just filled. So I went down there with my own shovel and cleaned it out. And yet, right in front of New World, it just needs someone to go along with a shovel and a wheelbarrow and clear out the damn water table. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that word. I'm just a bit frustrated. It would appear that someone needs to pick up the phone to Higgins and NZTA and say, get your act together, guys. Yeah. I mean, they've just left it lying around. I mean, all through the Christmas period, they had these bags of sand that were obviously their diversion structures lying in our water tables. We just didn't have any rain over that period, so we didn't have an issue. But they just sort of walked away and, you know, they've just completed their bitumex and they've done a fantastic job. They really have. But the tidy up at the end of the project is almost negligent.
Okay, so we hear the concern that's being raised from you, Councillor Gordon. Is there any comment from anybody else, the Chief Executive? Is something that we can do here?
With your permission, I note the earlier undertaking or request for His Worship to discuss with Waka Kotahi around the state of the rest areas and rubbish. We could include the work of their contractors on State Highway 1 and some of the conditions that Councillor Gordon has noted. I would, if that's okay.
Yep. You happy with that, Councillor Gordon?
And I would add to that, there seems to be a request for service that hasn't been completed, and I'll ask Arno to look into that.
Thank you. All right. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I just wanted to back up what Councillor Gordon was saying, and I understand what Mr. Benedy was also saying about a huge amount of work having to put cameras down places, but it really is a matter of just driving past and looking at the debris that is just lying on the street and has also caused that debris to go onto the footpath. So everything's looking rather unfortunate. And I've had a lot of feedback on that one, and I have encouraged people to do RFSs once again. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Just one last comment for the committee is, as far as the curbing channel and the paving is concerned through the Parks Department, we have notified NZTA repeatedly that they have to clean that up. We have a deal or a commitment from them that they will come afterwards and pressure wash all the pavements, get all the dust off it and clean the curbing channel.
Do we have a date for that?
We do not have a date for that. Murray will follow up again today. That was one of the actions from yesterday, to see if we can just get a date from them. So we do communicate.
If you don't, let me know, because it will go on the in the mayor's conversation. Sorry.
It is limited though to curb channel and pavement, not stormwater.
Yep. Okay, Councillor Carter, did you have a question?
Can I go back to the program?
You certainly can.
Okay, page 26, the sewage new works land purchase. What is being referred to in that line?
That's the disposal land in Bulls for the combined Marton and Bulls treated wastewater. So we've discussed that being deferred to the next financial year based on the discussions at the last council meeting about the approach we're taking with low environmental.
So you're still looking?
As yet not identified.
Pause at the moment, yeah.
Okay, further questions there? If not, Jess, you want to keep taking us through?
Yes. Are there any questions on the stormwater projects? Fantastic. Brings us to water supply. Are there any questions on the water supply renewals or water supply new works? No.
Sorry, Councillor.
Under the stormwater, you got there George Street.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the connection into Henry Drain and whatnot, which is full of weed at the moment?
Yeah.
Councillor Belsham, question?
I had a comment, sorry, darting back to stormwater as well, and it's not in here, but it's a project that the council has undertaken under the Wellington Road rail overbridge. That worked fantastic under that heavy rain event. I mean, we had a manhole pop up, but the water didn't pool around there, so that job is fantastic. And that's, ever since I've been living in Marton, that has been a road closure that would have happened under that significant rain event. So thumbs up to the team for the engineering work that's been done there, because it worked. Yeah. So that probably wasn't the appropriate place to raise it.
But thank you.
Yeah. No, well,
thank you for raising it, because we should.
Way better than State Highway 1 attempt at
Gumtree Corner.
Gumtree Corner, yeah. Well, that blocked up for 2 days.
All right, if we can carry on then, Jess. We're at new water supply, new works. I don't think there was any comments or questions there.
Fantastic. And that brings us to the water supply consent compliance.
Yep.
I'm happy to take any questions on this.
Only for me is timeframes with WSP managing. Are they on time with their program for the new consent applications, of which we've got 4 with them currently? Is it 4?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah. You're referring to the Taihape water supply or the wastewater one in the next section? I'm happy to.
Oh, really, just everything that we've got WSP managing on us. Are we tracking on time with our expectations to meet? Obviously, we've put a program in place with WSP to do this consenting program, which I'm assuming has been forwarded through to Horizons Regional Council, and they will be, within that loop. Are there any red flags there with how that time frame is proceeding? Are we on schedule?
No red flags with WSP's delivery or with communications with Horizons. Some of the technical reports that are coming out of the work that WSP is doing indicate that we may need higher capital spend on our assets than we have budgeted for. And in some cases, in Taihape Water is a good example where WSP has recommended a solution to resolve the water take over and above our consented limit. The cost of implementing that is not significant in the scheme of our capital works program. It's probably 100,000. We have yet to make a decision on it, but that is unbudgeted. And these are the kind of things that will arise out of that program of works. So to answer your question, no, WSP is doing a fantastic job. Things with Horizons are going really well. Probably any delays are just on our end because of the time we need to make the decisions based on the recommendations, and particularly where there's not an active project that's already got funding allocated to it. We need to work through those steps.
Yeah, as I raised in my chair's report, it's just another example of these things that are going to keep increasing and cropping up, and we're going to have to really consider where our position sits with some of our budget items, I think, because it's going to be quite significant. Councillor Gordon.
With respect to the Taihape water supply, has the solution been put in front of Horizons, and have they given any response if it has?
No. Through Mr. Chair, if I may just make 2 comments quickly. We are progressing that to see if we can find equipment because it's out on rural land.
Yes.
If we can find equipment that can do the job, and I think we have. But you make a good point. So we will submit it to Horizons and ask them what they think. I think really what's important to Horizons is we just need to get the take under the consented level. That's all they want really. The second one, just the question that you had on the consenting with WSP. I completely support what Jess is saying. I think it's important for the committee, and I just want to raise the flag that there is the consenting from Marton to Bulls that does not fall under the WSP contract, and that one is more complicated than any of the others. It's the oldest existing use rights consent that we have with Horizons. Horizons feel very sensitive about it, and so do we. And we are working. I had a conversation with Horizons in January. We are working together to find the best solution for us and for Horizons and for iwi to deal with this going forwards.
So that specifically relates to the Marton site.
It's complex. Marton site, the Bull site, and what happens if the pipeline works. All of those questions, and how do we maneuver to the final outcome of disposal to land under a completely different consent. There's lots of moving bits from a consenting perspective in that makeup. And what I've suggested to Horizons is the inclusion or the proposed inclusion of working with low environmental impact would close that loop because they have a strong consenting view of all these works. But it is one, if in all the mix of all consenting issues, one that I would want to raise for attention to the.
So that one is not currently being, as you just said, it's not currently managed by WSP. That's who's it currently in the hands of right here and right now?
At the moment, it's with your low environmental will manage it, but the plan is looking after it is strategy.
So we've contracted that out.
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
For the last 12 months or so.
Okay.
What I want low environmental is to pull it all together with conversations with Horizons on a much more regular basis as to how things are taken.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I was reading through this report and I just see that we are compliant on the current drinking water standards compliance on various things, and I'm assuming that that WSP the suggested solution is to a standard that will go forward into the next consultation, which is happening at the moment. Sorry, not next standards. I'm just concerned of how our staff are coping with the fact that, in fact, we're compliant for the next 4.5 months. But now the new drinking water assurance rules are, going to come in on the 1st of July this year, and the consultation's open. Are we consulting with that? Are we engaging in that consultation process, and how's that happening? Lots of things there.
Yeah, so is your question, are we as council directly in consultation or discussing it with the new water regulator? Is that the question you're asking? With regards to the new standards that are coming in for Te Mata Awaai, is it?
Yes. It just seems to me that this report's great. It tells us what we're doing right at the moment, but I'm just wondering how the transition is going, and are we involved in that consultation? Or is that actually regional councils because they're in charge of water?
Yeah, I'm just struggling to pick up the specific question. Who, when you say consulting, are we consulting with who?
Well, are we engaging in the consultation around the new drinking water quality assurance rules that are predicted to come into effect on the 1st of July? And how's that going to affect us? As our council, whether it be staff or councillors as the council, are we going to be engaging in those drinking water quality assurance rules? Do we have any idea what they're going to be or any input.
Okay, thank you. That's becoming a little clearer now. I'll Jess maybe I'd answer that for us, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify that this is outside of WSP's scope of work altogether. We haven't asked them for any input on this. Manawatu District Council effectively manages our three waters, and I had a meeting with Robert Rose there yesterday, and we had an initial discussion about what MDC is doing about the consultation for the new drinking water standard, and they will keep us well up to date and well involved with how they're going with preparing to make a submission. And if they do not choose to make a submission, obviously we can do it on our own volition, but it would make sense for us to have a combined submission together, given that they manage our three waters for us.
Right, thank you. Just further comment?
Yeah, I'll just add some clarity as well. So Taumata Arawai have a number of proposed documents that we have been invited to submit on. Drinking water standards, drinking water quality assurance rules, drinking water aesthetic values, drinking water acceptable solution for roof water supplies, blah, blah, blah. And that closes at the end of March. And I think that's just that's what you're talking about. Simultaneously, and in fact on the same day, Ministry for the Environment put out a public consultation on proposed changes to the National Environmental Standard for sources of human drinking water. That's a public consultation, and honestly, the emails came out one after the other, but they're not related to each other, other than the word water. And we are not, we haven't planned, I think, have we, on that one, planned to submit to the sources of human drinking water and National Environmental Standard.
Okay. Right, I think is everyone clear with that one?
Along with RP reform and
yes, along with all the other reforms that sit in front of us. It's just another one. Jess, where have we got to now? Where it was drinking water and the compliance. I think we've ticked that off as we're moving through. Wastewater. Ongoing, I would suggest. Lots of work being done in that space. Are there any specific questions with regards to wastewater? I can't see any online. There's one. Sorry, Councillor Dalgety.
Thank you. I'm not certain, Jess, that this is the right place to raise this, so just correct me. But just what's been going through my head in terms of the Hunterville wastewater dams and needing to get a reconsent. And I know that there is a desire for truck effluent in our district, somewhere where we can dump truck effluent. And I was just thinking there's a already formed pull-off for trucks by our dams currently. Would there be any desire to, to use those effluent ponds as part of solving that effluent dump problem? And should we be thinking about that when we're doing this reconsent?
This matters was raised before, and the outcome was that a letter was sent back to, can someone help me out here? Was sent back to Waka Kotahi with a request to investigate further, or words to that effect. I'm not quite sure, but I do know the site you're talking about, Councillor Duncan.
Through Mr. Chairman, you're correct. There's the two things. So the dumping site that falls under Waka Kotahi, they've got a national plan for all of that, and it needs to fit into what they're planning. The second part of the question, so that we don't control, the second part of the question is the plant, if that could somehow accept that effluent. The effluent from these stock trucks are very, very heavy in load, very difficult to treat. It complicates the treatment process immensely. So the Hunterville infrastructure cannot deal with that, definitely not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now to solid waste. I think we've pretty much covered that in early discussion as some actions that are being taken place over, our diversion and tonnage. Is everybody happy that that matter's been taken up a little bit earlier on in today's meeting? I'm not seeing anybody raise any questions. If there's no further questions, I'll move that the Assets and Infrastructure Report January 2022 be received. Seconded from Councillor Lambert. All those in favour? Aye, thank you. That, I think, sorry, Jess, a late matter or a matter referring to?
I was hoping to give a verbal update, if that's all right, around the Tūtainui stream fencing in Marton.
Yep, if you can just bring us through and just update everybody on that one, that would be good.
Sure. So you may recall last year, around the middle of the year, we were approached by MPI about an opportunity where a company was formed called Rio, Rangatike Environmental Operations, which was an iwi-formed group to train people, purchase equipment and train people to fence waterways. And they received quite significant funding to undertake this operation and established Rio. MPI approached us because Rio found that they had a surplus of fencing materials and they asked if we would like to use that to fence sections of the Tūtainui stream heading towards the dams. It was a really good opportunity, and our only contribution was providing a person to manage that communication with landowners, schedule in the work to be done, arrange site visits, etc. The timeframes for Rio doing the work have slipped and slipped and slipped and slipped. And from the PMO, we have been asking both MPI and Rio for an update about where this is at, where have things got to. We've received advice from MPI to deal directly with Rio now and get information from them. And the update that we've had from them this week is they're no longer sure if they will have a surplus of fencing, and if they do, how much it would be. They don't know when or if they may be able to do the works that we've offered to the landowners. And they're not able to commit to any timeframes at the moment. So the PMO's recommendation to Arno and through Arno to Peter was that it's the right time to communicate with landowners to say, to explain the situation succinctly, more succinctly than I've explained it to you, and advise that at this time, council won't continue to try and push for this to happen. Offer our apologies for any inconvenience, but just reiterate that it is far outside of our control. And we were really excited about the project and thought it was a great opportunity. I'm open to any advice, comments or questions on that.
Just to note that this is not a council-driven project. It's not something that sits on our works program, our schedule. It's not something that you would have seen reported in any of our correspondence. We were simply putting two parties together and making the contact with the landowners. So it's not a council-driven project and initiative. Is there any questions on this matter? Councillor Belsham.
So just in regards with what areas were going to be fenced at the initiation of the project, you said prior to the dams, so that's prior to the water entering our drinking water dams, is that correct? So it wasn't downstream? Downstream, so after the dams, right. Has any communication been had with the Tūtainui Stream Restoration Society as to whether they can interact with the REO organisation to see if they can combine resources?
We have discussed the project with Greg in the Tūtainui Stream Restoration Project. They're very keen to be involved. We will talk to Greg in the project again. But the earlier discussions were more around coordinating with the Stream Restoration Project and letting them know what was being done versus them undertaking any fencing. And the areas that we have communicated with landowners on are private land, downstream from the dams itself. That answer the question, or?
Yeah, I just, whether there was any coordination between the two groups, and perhaps between the two groups they could coordinate themselves to deliver something.
Yeah, if we could put those two groups together and something comes to it, that's fine, but I think it's a step back from us in a council point of view.
Yeah, certainly. I don't want
okay.
us to be involved.
Thank you, Jess, for that verbal update. I think that brings our meeting to a close. Being nothing, I'll declare the meeting closed as noted at the appropriate time. Thank you, Ash. You can stop that. Just Councillor, where's Councillor?